Hi, and welcome back. Today, if I can, I want to ask you to be praying for those caring for children with special needs. Lisa Myers, our director of Fellowship Kids at the Mount Laurel campus, asked us to be praying. And so since I have your ear, I thought I would ask you to pray as well. This is an unsettled time for all of us, but for many with special needs, the rhythm and routine created by schools and programs and therapies is critical to maintaining peace and balance in their lives and in their homes. Moms and dads and siblings also depend on these structures and the professionals who provide them to maintain a sense of order and consistency in their own lives. Please be praying for these parents of children with special needs as they strive to create new routines and consistency in their homes. Pray for wisdom and patience and creativity. Pray for balance as they strive to care for others in their home as well. And pray for the children. Pray for calm and peace and patience with their parents as their parents try to do their best. Today I want to look at the story of Jesus calming the storm. To be honest, I'm really surprised that no one has taken this story yet. I thought this one was a little like cherry picking in this season, so I hesitated to take it. But if no one else wants, I'll take it. This is Matthew's version. When he got into the boat, his disciples followed him, and behold, there arose a great storm on the sea, so that the boat was being swamped by the waves. But he was asleep. And they went and woke him, saying, "Save us, Lord, we are perishing." And he said to them, "Why are you afraid, little faiths?" Then he rose and rebuked the wind and the sea, and there was a great calm. And the men marveled, saying, "What sort of man is this? Even the winds and the sea obey him." I read recently that the word that Matthew uses is more commonly used for earthquakes than sea storms. As a matter of fact, it is the word from which we get the English word seismic. The disciples wake Jesus crying, "Save us, Lord, we are perishing." In Mark's account, they ask him, "Don't you care that we are perishing?" In Mark and Luke's account of the story, Jesus gets up, calms the storm, and then questions his disciples about their fear and faith. But Matthew records it a little differently. In Matthew's account, he places the calming of the storm after Jesus asks them why they are afraid. Now, I don't believe that the exact order of this is of great significance. The point in all three of the Gospels is that even the wind and the sea obey this man, Jesus. But of the three authors of the Synoptic Gospels, only Matthew was in that boat. The Apostle John also would have been in the boat, but he doesn't record this story. I think this is significant, or at least I'm going to try to make it significant for my little talk here. For Matthew, this is a memory, and what he remembers is that in the middle of a lake, in the middle of a huge storm, in a boat filling with water, and I probably should pause here to remind you, Matthew is a tax collector, not a fisherman. And he's in a boat with fishermen who are panicking. So he's in a boat filling with water. They wake up their teacher and they tell him they're about to die, and he says the craziest thing to them. He opens his eyes from a sound sleep and asks, over the noise of the wind and the sea, "Why are you afraid, little faiths?" Then he gets up, tells the wind and the sea to behave, and it does. He's been asleep. He's probably soaking wet. His terrified friends wake him in the middle of a storm. He's probably instantly aware of their dire situation. And he asks, "Why are you afraid?" It's not after he has calmed the storm and proven that he is Lord even of the elements, but before, while the storm is raging, that he asks them why they are afraid. At least two things come to mind as to why that question at that moment. Have you ever been wakened in the middle of the night by a frightened child? Your first question is always, "What's the matter, sweetheart?" Or "What's wrong, buddy?" Your first waking thought, as you're snapped into consciousness, is your concern for this little one that you love. Your concern is for them, whether it was a bad dream or a noise or a nosebleed or a wet bed How can I take care of this for you? In doing so, you acknowledge their fear. This is a real thing. You don't minimize, but you seek to comfort them in and through it. Positive thinking is good for what it's worth, but it really doesn't do much good to a 5-year-old after a bad dream. But getting pulled into your parents' bed and feeling your daddy's warm arm wrap around you makes every scary thing in the world go away, and you fall back to sleep without even trying. The second thing that comes to mind is that Jesus asks his question in the storm, not after he has calmed it. He's going to stand up in just a moment and fix this, but they don't know that yet. But here, in this moment of terror, he asks, "Why are you afraid, little faiths?" Now, he knows why they're afraid, and so do they, the storm all around them. But why are they afraid? And he pulls their faith into the equation by calling them little faiths. And in that moment, as they are asking and answering that question in their own minds, they see him soaking wet, waking up from a sound sleep, standing up and showing them once again that there's nothing to be afraid of. Jesus was not afraid. He was exhausted from a long, hard day of preaching and healing and casting out demons. And so he slept, and he slept hard. And he's able to sleep like a log because he's not afraid of anything. On Monday, Pastor Mark's devotional was about our big, immeasurable God. But here in this boat, on this lake in Palestine, we see our God in very measurable form. That God of the Red Sea put on our skin and sat in a boat in the Sea of Galilee. And while that God in skin man walked this earth, his intent was not to show us how great he was, or even to prove to us that he was God incarnate. He didn't have to prove anything. Instead, he spent his adult life showing us what it looks like when a man completely, unswervingly, unapologetically trusts in that immeasurable God, in that big God that he called Abba, Father. Jesus would have been that crazy guy at the Red Sea saying, "This is going to be great. Just wait and see what our God does here." Jesus is the new Adam. In him we see a picture of what it could have been like if the first Adam had just trusted the Maker. Jesus is also the picture, the promise of what it will be like for us one day when all of this stuff, this fear and sadness and disappointment is removed. And it is just us and our God in unfettered relationship. But more than that, Jesus shows us what it can be like right here, right now, in our storm-filled lives. Jesus is for us the picture of a human being that trusts God without question. He is the person he describes in the Beatitudes. He is the one who trusts his Father like the sparrow and the lilies. Like many of the Psalms, the 16th Psalm captures perfectly the heart of the one who trusts in God. Psalm 16 is referenced by Peter in his sermon on Pentecost. Peter contends that David could not have been speaking about himself in this psalm, but about the Messiah. David was like us. There was what is true and what he wanted to be true about himself and his trust in God. But for Jesus, what is true and what he wanted to be true about him and his God are one and the same. Listen to this song as though Jesus were reciting it, as though every syllable is an utterance of absolute confidence in his Father. Preserve me, O God, for in you I take refuge. I say to the Lord, you are my Lord. I have no good apart from you. As for the holy ones in the land, they are excellent, in whom is all my delight. The sorrows of those who run after another God will multiply. Their drink offering of blood I will not pour out, nor take their names on my lips. The Lord is my chosen portion and my cup. You hold my lot. The boundary lines have fallen for me in pleasant places. Indeed, I have a beautiful inheritance. I bless the Lord who gives me counsel. In the night also my heart instructs me. I have set the Lord always before me. Because he is at my right hand, I shall not be shaken. Therefore my heart is glad, my whole being rejoices. My flesh also dwells secure, for you will not abandon my soul to the grave, or let your Holy One see corruption. You make known to me the path of life. In your presence there is fullness of joy. At your right hand are pleasures forevermore. You and I do not trust our Father, the one in the heavens, exactly like that. But we can. Jesus' desire is for us to know his Father, our Father, the way he knows his Father. That invitation is always there. The storms come again and again, not to dash our hopes, but to call us again to trust in the one who sleeps in the storms. Peace to you.